Hello and welcome to the podcast this week. We got an exciting show for you. To you. I again botched the opening. One day I'm going to get these openings right, but today is not that day. I'm coming to you live from my car, which is on location up in actually one of our customer sites. So I'm enjoying some outdoor scenery. It's kind of glorious. With us today on the podcast, we've got Mike.
Hi.
We've got Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
And we've got Artie as our flight engineer again.
Potentially here.
Physically, virtually, as long as you're candidly here, I think that's good enough. So we've got an exciting show. Today we're doing episode 16. We've titled this one "Coming to You in 16-Bit Color." Because why not?
Oh, is that what I'm supposed to name it?
Okay, what did we name it, flight director?
Just 16 bits.
16 bits. Okay, well, we're coming to you at 16 bits in 16-bit color. It's going to be a fun one. We're doing this podcast August 15, 2024. And we're gonna try something new this time. We're gonna open up the comments section and invite our viewers, you guys, to give us some ideas of what to talk about. Now, if you're on the podcast with us today, we'll do what we can to address those as they pop up. If you're watching us after the fact, leave a comment. We're going to have our team look at the comments, and we'll put those questions into future episodes. We're at that rare point in a podcast growth where you, the viewer, will have absolute impact on the future content. I guarantee you every question, within reason, will be answered in a podcast coming up. So that said, since we're talking about 16-bit for our episode, here's a question for you guys. What are the names of some of the 16-bit consoles you remember growing up with?
Oh, yes.
For
All
the
the
viewers.
16-bit consoles I grew up with.
For the viewers, answer that comment below. I'd love to see what exotic 16-bit devices you've had.
I enjoyed
I'll give
the Genesis.
Sega Genesis, yeah. Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. I
What
never
else?
had a 16-bit console of any kind. I never actually had any console of any kind. My friends all had the consoles, so that was enough for me. But yeah, I had friends that had Super Nintendo, and I had a friend that was a die-hard Genesis fan. So yeah, we played on a couple different systems.
I think Sega was my favorite. Here's one for you guys. TurboGrafx 16.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one.
Technically, it wasn't a 16-bit, it was a dual 8-bit.
8 plus 8, right? All right, here we go for the exotic one. Neo Geo.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted a Neo Geo, but those things were like $600 for the home thing, and the games were like 120 each, because the same game worked in the arcade as the home system. It was basically the same setup.
I remember
Yeah, they
going
claimed
on a
it.
scout camping trip, and a kid in my troop, the entire hike all the way in, told me all about how cool the Neo Geo system was and all the things you could do, and the fact that you could play games at home and games at the arcade, and it was essentially the same system either way. I remember playing some of those Neo Geo arcades. I never saw anyone that had the home system, but I remember playing the arcade games, and there's a couple that we liked playing a lot.
I'm curious
Those
if
are
I would know
fantastic.
what any of those are. Like, are there any that have kind of survived in pop culture?
King of Monsters was one.
What is it called?
King of Monsters.
Huh. I've never heard of that one.
Bonk was my favorite.
That was TurboGrafx. and later SNES.
Oh, that's right. That was TurboGrafx.
He was their he was their Sonic, their Mario. What is it? Metal Slug is still
Mm-hmm.
a popular one that I believe got its start on the Neo Geo.
It was
I
a
wanna
system that
s
was decade ahead of its time.
I wanna
It
say
had memory
Samurai
cards.
Showdown.
Samurai Showdown is another one.
We love Samurai Showdown on the arcade.
But yeah, one thing that I remembered about it was it had memory cards that would work. You can save your game at
Mm-hmm.
home and take it to the arcade and vice versa.
Yep,
Just don't
Oh,
forget the
that's
card
cool.
because those were like 120 each as well.
that's
Holy.
exactly what my friend told me as we were hiking up the mountain. Yep.
I don't remember the title of the game, but the one that I remember the most, you could play as a samurai or you could play as a cowboy. And you wandered around, you picked up orbs that gave you weapons.
Hmm.
A beat 'em up game.
Oh, that reminds me of. I actually had a friend buy one of these systems. The old Sega game. I think it was Time Cop. Oh gosh. Anyways, it was a 3D hologram game where you walk up like like an arcade machine. You'd walk up, and there was a screen flat, and looking down, you would see characters standing on top of the screen.
Mm.
And it played just like Dragon's Lair, if you remember that one, Mike,
Mhm.
where you have a video playing. Your
Mhm.
joystick chooses the next video clip that will play. So you've got to choose your own adventure video that's running, and you dodge things, dodge
Based on
attacks.
reaction time, like the Dragon's Lair
Yep.
was? Mhm.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah, I bet.
I actually got to see how that thing was put together. That was an interesting technology. It's a laser disc,
Mhm.
cathode ray tube, and a spherical reflective mirror.
Oh, interesting.
Your eyes looking at the sphere see a different perspective of what's on the CRT, causing you to get this like double vision effect. And so
Mhm.
Sony just capitalized on that and put a piece of glass right at about the point of your double vision.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It was brilliant.
That's super cool.
How about this one? Do you remember the Atari Lynx?
Mhm.
That was 16-bit. All right.
Those
Any others?
Yeah. Fun trip down memory lane.
Yeah, I could spend hours in memory lane, but we've got a lot to talk about today. Speaking of, we've got some data breaches. We've got some patches. Today's Patch Tuesday, so yay that. We've got some vulnerabilities that are out there. We've got Windows has 170,000 exposed systems that has a CVE score that is pretty dang high. What else we got to talk about?
I think there was that let me look here. Car speed limiters in the EU.
Yeah, that's an upcoming one. Your cars are connected. Is that a good thing or is that a challenge? Well, without diving too deep into our hit list. So we've got a data breach that's making the news all over the place. There's been 2.9 billion records. Artie, do you have an article you could read to us?
I do not. It was one that you suggested, so I wasn't up on. Yeah.
Oh, fair
Um,
enough. So I do a little bit of driving around. I see all of creation as I'm driving everywhere. Listen to some podcasts, listen to some news, and it's a fantastic moment for us to stay in touch with what's going on. So the data breach is somebody posted 2.9 billion social security numbers and names and phone numbers just out there in the wild, right? So they scrape somebody's database and they're posting it. And they're trying to sell it on the dark web for $3.5 million. No takers as of yet. But Mike, you had a fantastic question on our pre-show.
Yeah.
2.9 billion records. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, there's only 330 million people in the United States, give or take. How do you get to 2.9 billion
It's almost 10
personally
times.
identifiable records or pieces of information? I guess is how I'd put it.
So
Is that what they're claiming, that they have 2.9 billion unique social security numbers?
2.9 billion records. So let me add some pucker factor to this. You know, turn your stomach a little bit. 2.9 billion records, many of which are duplicate because a lot of people have moved or changed jobs or changed their phone numbers.
Mhm.
And so all those records stitched together. But here's the crazy part. Mike, I forget his last name. He started Have I Been Pwned?
Mhm.
He looked up his information in what was supposedly part of the breach. His name was there, but none of the associated information was actually correct.
Oh, is
It was
ChatGPT making it up?
just about.
One of the articles that I was reading said that people had checked and they found, like relatives that had died as being listed there as well. So it's a collection of information that has just been scraped from somewhere. And um, the hack itself with the company in question hasn't been verified, um, at least as of 4 hours ago in the article I'm looking at.
Do
Where are
we
you
know
at?
what kind
I'm at
of
Yahoo News.
Okay.
Yeah, do we know what kind of company this was? I mean, I heard somebody said something earlier about like records like private investigators, et cetera, or something. And a lot of
It's
it is publicly accessible anyway.
Mm-hmm.
it's a or a background check company called the National Public Data or National Public Data.
Okay. So is this something kind of like People Finder or White Pages or something like that?
It's what those services connect to get
Yeah.
their records.
Okay. So then
So
that
it,
makes sense because I know that sometimes I've gone on to like People Finder or something like that. And, you can find, John Doe, and it gives you a listing of like a whole bunch of different places that that person has had a record. So, like, owned a house in this place, rented an apartment this place, had a loan here, or, just things that are all the stuff that's on the public records. Got married here, got divorced there. And so if you tally up each individual piece of information, then yeah, I could see that it could get up to the billions of records, you know.
yeah, if you take each person and put 15 or 20 records against them for transactions or
Yeah,
address changes or something.
yeah.
That's enough.
Okay, I've got an update. Um, so
Cool.
I visited the company's website, and they've got uh, a message regarding the security incident, and they do verify that something happened. So um, yeah,
Cool. So something happened to all the public data in the world. That's
Something happened.
they also
Basically,
go,
yeah,
go
go
ahead,
on,
Mike.
Artie. No, you go ahead.
They also the information does not necessarily coincide entirely with US citizens. They have information on people from around the world. So that makes the 2.9 billion a little bit more understandable.
Easier to reach that
Yeah.
number, yeah.
Well, that gets to an interesting thought exercise. That's kind of actually where I wanted to go with this today. Our data is out there, right? Now, there's like delete, what is it? Delete Me and Aura and LifeLock and all those other companies that offer data scrubbing services. That sounds like an awesome idea. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could remove our names from this list before it gets breached? Or better yet, not have our data in that list in the first place? But since that's not an option, what can we do? The data's out there, guys. What do we do?
Were people worried about this? Because public record's been public record for decades, even before computers were a thing, really. You could go get public record on lots of stuff. And has anything really changed? Does my public record make me more or less vulnerable to something? I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I think it does. I'm going to take a hot take here and say I think we fundamentally need to change the way our commerce and our security works. I mean, when you call in to change your cell phone number, you give them the last 4 of your social security number as proof of who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you
Which
take
was-
out a loan.
Which originally wasn't supposed to be used as an identification number, from what I
Yeah.
understand. I mean, yeah. But there you go.
Yeah, it's our system is kind of a default open. I mean, we're talking firewalls, right? Our credit system, our trust in these organizations was based on I know something that you don't know. That's the way you can challenge me and say, are you really you? You know, like mother's maiden name or PIN number or any of those things. But we're in an age where that information really doesn't hold secret anymore.
It's interesting when, as you're talking about this, I'm reminded of lots of Latin countries in South America or Central America. They use a social security number system, not necessarily the same as social security, and that's very public information that they give out freely. I lived in Brazil for a couple of years, and I've lots of friends from around a few Latin countries, and they'll kind of I've said the same thing in my own experience in Brazil is that, you know, they use it at the grocery store. It's like, oh, do you want to put your social security on your receipt? You know, and if you do that, then, you know, you get a certain discount on a couple of random items, kind of like, you know, you're getting paid for the government to track your data, right, of what you're buying at the grocery store. And so it's really strange that a lot of other countries have it's just a different culture of that's not private information for them. And it may be that they don't use it exactly in the same way that we use our social security numbers. But it's interesting to see the difference, and not saying that one way is better than the other, but I think generally as Americans in the United States, we are pretty private people compared to our neighboring countries.
I would speculate, and tell me if I'm wrong, because you got firsthand experience. They don't have a credit-based economy. They've got a barter and trade kind of system, right?
You know, you might be right about that. I can't say for sure. You know, I was there as a missionary, so I don't know exactly. That wasn't my focus per se. I didn't have to worry about most of that anyway. But it feels like it when you say it like that, rather than
because you would haggle for the price of a thing, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You never pay full price.
That's one of those things, like in an economy like that. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong, or I'm not just speculating. But in an economy like that, where the price is the price when you trade the goods in your hands, it would be very difficult to take somebody's ID and ruin their life because you're borrowing money against their good name. So, I mean, yeah, I'd be free to share my number with everybody if I knew that nobody could take my life from me.
Right. And I think you're probably right about that, because here, we talk about it that, people can open up or to get a loan in your name or something like that, and then you're left, it's under your name. What are you going to do? Well, I think in most countries it works differently. I couldn't tell you exactly how, but it's a different system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think in our economy, we've got you trade on your good name. Your credit is based on your good name. Your value is on your good name. Your net worth. And now our good name is out there, and all those little secrets we have are out in the open. They're free for anybody to exploit. How frightening is that?
Or you just need to not treat what you think is a secret isn't really a secret. Maybe it's a mind shift. The fact that I went and bought a house, I don't consider that to be a secret, because obviously there was a loan officer involved and, XYZ people that were all involved. The person who sold it to me obviously knows that I bought the house, kind of thing. So, it has to be recorded publicly because I have to then pay taxes on that as, being a property owner. And I can go into the land maps and I can click on any piece of property and it'll tell me who owns that piece of property. So the thing that I'm kind of wondering though is that this already says that this company admits that something happened. I kind of wonder if what really happened is that it wasn't so much that data was leaked, as more like they were robbed, because this company is in the business of selling that information anyway. People log on to a system like People Finder or something, similar to that. And if you've ever done one of those searches, you can search on somebody, find out some teaser information like, hey, look, we know that they were here, and related to this person. Now, for the full record, pay us $20 or pay us a subscription for, a year's worth of access, and you can get all the records you want,
Mm-hmm.
So they're already selling it. It's not like nobody can get to this information. Anybody who's got some money to spend can obviously get access to the information. But I think the thing is that it's the sheer number, the volume, that all the records were taken. Somebody now has them. They didn't get paid for it. So it's, in a way, it's a loss to them. And we don't know what those people are able to do now they have this massive, volume of data of all those records. Because maybe somebody has set up their security questions, name the third house that you lived in, or something like that. Well, yeah, if I have all that information, I know what third houses you lived in,
Yeah,
So
it's a fundamental shift we're going to have to go through very quickly in our system. So if you log into like TransUnion or any of those other credit reporting agencies, they'll throw, which address do you recognize?
Mm-hmm.
And you click the right answer, then that proves that's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem very foolproof, with or without this data being available, right? I mean, you find a piece of
kingdom for
mail
a
or
YubiKey
something.
that identifies me. I cut you off. Go ahead, Jackson.
No, I was just saying, that in and of itself, I don't even trust that, just because anybody can see your address or previous addresses. I mean, Facebook or who knows what will tell you all sorts of things.
I still get occasionally mail for the people who used to own my house.
Right.
I've been living there for over 5 years.
You're telling me I get mail? I live in an apartment. A college apartment at that. I get mail for who knows
Lots
how
of
many different
people.
people. It's a
Yeah.
different one every day. So I mean, I know all sorts of people's addresses. Previous addresses, I should say.
So let's go back to the question. What can we do to protect ourselves?
If it's publicly available data, there's very little you can do to protect yourself, because it's public record. It's knowledge that's out there that anybody that is looking for it is going to be able to find it. I can go back and look at the records from everywhere that I've lived in my life, and some of these record sites, they will have information that I didn't know, like who somebody that you were living with was married to before you were living with them, stuff like that. And it's kind of scary what's out there in the public record. So if it's in the public record, there's not much you can do to prevent that information from getting out there.
So if the information's out there and people can, readily find all this, sensitive information, secret information, what can we do to protect ourselves? I know the big thing that I've done is I've put a locks on all my credits. Reached out to all the various agencies and said, lock my credit. Don't allow any credit to come through.
Yeah, it's putting security in place that's not based on anything that's publicly available or even suspected that's been compromised. I mean, it's got to be unique. What's the word? There's a word for it. I can't think of the word, but stuff that only you know, only you and a very limited circle of people would know. There, I had to, I had a problem on my debit card over the weekend, this last weekend, that Home Depot declined me using my debit card. I was only getting $20 worth of stuff. And I'm like, I know there's money in the bank. Like, what the heck? And so I was like, well, I'm not going to worry about right this minute. I just need to make this purchase and get out of here. Fortunately, I had enough cash to cover the purchase. And so I walked into the bank on Monday to go talk to him about it. And they're like, Home Depot, for some reason, they flagged it. They flagged your card. For some reason, Home Depot felt that it was a fraudulent purchase. I'm like, it was a stick of aluminum and some nuts and bolts. Like, what's fraudulent about that? Like, who's committing fraud buying that, But whatever. And so they're like, so that was you. I'm like, yeah, that was me. I ended up paying cash for it. Okay, well, you know, we'll fix it, but let us know if it happens again, because that's just really weird. Like, even the bank thought that was really weird. But even in handling all that, you know, I have to have a password when I talk to the teller that only I know and the bank has recorded attached to my account. That's even if I want to deposit money into my account, which is like, hey, anybody wants to deposit money in my account, let them. Like, I don't care if they get the password wrong. Let them put that money in there. But
Why
that's
are
another.
you asking me to prove who I am when I'm trying to pay my bill?
Yeah, exactly. But there you go. I mean, it's all checks and balances to make sure, are you really the person you say you are?
Well, you do know why they have those challenges there, right?
Mhm.
Jackson, do you know why they would challenge you on making a deposit or somebody calling to pay a bill?
Well, yeah, I think we've maybe talked about this before, right? I mean, if people say, "Oh, why do I care if someone wants to deposit money in my bank account? It's free money, right?" But then say someone says, "Oh, I forgot my password or something." They might ask you, "Well, what was the last transaction?" And now they know exactly what that last transaction was because they were the ones who did it.
Well, I know I made a deposit on this day, and yeah, I paid a bill for this, and you get 2 or 3 of them right, like, oh, they must be who they say they are.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. A funny thing, I think there was a comedian that was joking about this, how his bank would decline his card, right? And he's saying, my bank knows me real well. He goes, one time I tried to go to the gym, start a gym membership, immediately declined. I could go out buy 5 gallons of chocolate milk, no problem. And so it's funny because they do keep track of these. They have a profile
That's
of
outside your normal
people.
spending habit. Gym membership? You?
Mike,
I don't
Haagen-Dazs,
know.
check.
Mike, somebody
Dairy
has
Queen,
hijacked
check.
your card. They're trying to eat healthy and go to the gym.
My last boss, our financial gal, would have to unlock his card for travel because he had instances where the card had been those naughty waitresses at the restaurant that double swipe the card, swipe it once for the restaurant purchase, but then they'll like, oh, I'm going to swipe it again so I can capture the information off of it, And so they would keep the card locked, and then when he would travel, she would unlock it for the travel. But then she would watch his purchases just as a backup to make sure that nothing fraudulent was coming in. But she knew exactly. It's like, yep, there's the charge for the parking at the airport. Yep, there's the charge for the snacks at Haagen-Dazs. Yep, there's the charge for he had an exact routine every time he went traveling, went to the airport, he went to the same places, and anything that was out of that pattern, she'd be like calling him up like, "Hey, was that you at this and this and that?" Because that's not your normal routine.
That's
I hope I never
cool
get
and
that predictable.
frightening. Right?
What'd you say, Artie?
I hope I never get that predictable.
Ah.
No, we fall into having traveled a whole bunch in my previous life. You fall into habits of, I know this routine. I'm comfortable with this routine. For me, it was going to DIA and stopping at one of the places and get a chicken quesadilla. And that was just my comfort food for flying through the airport. I don't know how I developed that habit. I just did.
Yeah.
I'm that way with restaurants. I only ever get one thing. All I need is whenever I'm trying out a new restaurant, I'll go maybe 2-3 times trying to find one thing that I like. After that, it's the only thing I'll order. I'll never branch out. That's all I get. So I guess if someone was tracking my transaction history and saw me ordering some interesting things on the menu, they could cancel my card immediately. That's definitely not me.
There was a story from so we traveled a lot during the summers. We would go from school to school to school. Every week we would be somewhere else, sometimes twice a week, different towns. And you get kind of used to the food. It's Applebee's, it's Chili's, it's Perkins. We would have we ate everywhere that you could eat. We had every fast food that you could eat. We drove from one end of Albuquerque to the other one night and just going around. And it was hilarious because we get from one side to the other. And it's like, none of the stuff sounds good. So we ended up pulling into an Arby's. And guy I was working with, he pulls up to the speaker. She says, welcome to Arby's. What would you like? He said, I don't know, just give me something. She's like, what? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm hungry for, but I'm hungry. So just give me something. She's like a chicken sandwich. Says, yeah, let's do that.
At that point, I having worked at a fast food restaurant, we had a couple of secret menu items that we just came up with ourselves as cooks or the managers, and that's what I give them because it's kind of exciting to be like, oh, I gotta make you something special that's not on the menu that I've made a bajillion times.
Yep. And it's these secret little things. It's these little stories. It's these little nuggets that really give us kind of a framework for security. Like, if you get to know somebody, you can know these backstories are legit or not.
Mm-hmm.
How do we I guess the question in my mind is there a way we could put technology towards that thing so that these billions of records, even though it's out in the open, we're still secure?
Mhm.
You know, as you say that, and maybe I'm just misinterpreting, but I almost just don't want technology to touch that. You know, I want it to stay separate, right? That is something that only I know, and it's because the only reason that I'm the only one who knows it is because I haven't put it online anywhere, or it hasn't touched technology. So if
Until
they're
now.
all
My former boss, I could order if we went to a fast food burger joint, I would know exactly how to order his hamburger. It was not the stock, however the hamburger comes. It was, there's certain condiments that he would or would not have on that burger every single time without fail.
That's awesome.
I think going back to, the security thing, I think we'll reach a point where we have to essentially backtrack. Um, like, I mean, the simplest example, which probably isn't the best either, is, when we first got devices, everything was just a PIN number, right? And that was your secret. And as time goes on, we've now got thumbprints and now, facial recognition, and that's bringing it back to the person to person, even though that's not the best example. But I think we'll reach a breaking point where it becomes the only way to really know who's who is you're gonna have to go see them in person, or there's gonna have to be some sort of a phone call, or even then, a phone call isn't completely secure, but there'll have to be some sort of a human interaction to replace the most secure thing that we use online, if that makes sense.
So this diverges into maybe a little bit more of your realm, and maybe you've had to deal with this, Jackson. I don't know. Online proctoring for tests. Have you had to do that yet?
I have not. College has been so nice to me. My professors, they hate it actually, and so that's why they've actually decided, we're not doing that.
So I did a bunch of online school, and some of my classes, they decided that if there's any way we can get out of online proctoring for like a midterm or a final exam, we're going to try to do that. And so they did. They found every which way they could, but there were some classes where it's like we got no choice. We have to do this with an online proctoring. So like I'm trying to remember which classes it was. One was a math class that I had to do it. And there was another class. I think it was one of my English classes that I had to do it. I don't remember for sure. But I mean, you're essentially installing spyware on your computer because you have to grant access to everything. It's the camera, the microphone, the desktop, the screen, the whatever's plugged into it at the time, and it will detect like, hey, you've got too many things plugged into it. You can't use this until you unplug, blah blah blah. So it's just your computer, and just the internal camera and just the internal microphone and all that stuff. And there's going to basically be somebody watching you the entire time you take this test and everything. And a lot of students hate it because it's like, I feel so violated. I don't have my privacy. If I install this on my computer, how do I know that it's not being used when I'm not taking a test, kind of a thing, and everything. So, but that's the problem, is that they want to prove that you are actually who you say you are, and you're taking this test, and you're not some other person taking it in, like cheating, taking on somebody else's behalf.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting the passing grade, but you took the test because you know the answers, kind
I
of
would
thing.
I would sit in front of a TV that has some of the most, like, litigious copyrighted material possible, like, uh, some brand new Disney production or Pixar production or something playing in the background. And
But that's just it, is there can't be noises. It's pretty strict. Like, I had to put a sign on the door when I was taking those tests, I was like, do not disturb me. Do not open this door. Do not come in for the next hour because I'm taking a test.
So there's a company that makes air fresheners for cars, and they're I'm not even going to mention them by name. They have a very distinctive shape for their thing, and anybody that uses their likeness, they get cease and desist letters, they get lawsuits. It's pretty serious. Maybe you could do a necklace wearing one of those, so that nobody is going to play that back or carry that forwards.
That's nice. Get the company in trouble. I love it.
That also makes me think of, like, installing. You said it's like installing spyware, right? And a lot of applications or programs we install, we have to give them permissions to do things, right? Especially on your phone. The phone for me, that's like almost a daily thing. You open something, hey, can I have permission to track your location right now, or can I see this or see that? And my motto is always to just give the least amount of permission possible to everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good way to save yourself in that sense of not giving anything permission that it doesn't need, or taking it away as soon as it doesn't need it anymore. Because that way, assuming, say, this software gets hacked or something, there's some, vulnerability, well then, someone has access to a piece of software that can now have complete control of your device, and that's something that I don't want. I don't want to be even a thought in the back of my mind of a possible vulnerability.
In addition to that, anytime that your phone updates, you got to go back in and double check and make sure those permissions are still turned off, because the updates will change the permissions on many programs that are on your phone.
Yeah, that's something you got to watch for. I don't think I've ever had that happen to me where the permissions ended up being drastically different. And in most cases, any app that uses an extended number of permissions anyway, I know that when the app updates, there'll be a warning. It'll say, hey, our permissions have changed. You need to go back through this and verify it again to make sure it's correct.
And we lost you for a bit there, John, so you had anything to say?
It's a good thing that I'm like I say, I'm on site in the customer's field, so I'm glad that we've had the connection we've had up till now, so yay that.
Speaking of permissions, that kind of makes me think of the whole speed limiters thing with the cars, right?
Yeah.
The premise behind that is, here, I can read a little bit from this. This is from Auto Week. The European Union starting, this was July 7th, all new cars sold in the EU will feature intelligent speed assistance systems.
Assistance. I love that. That makes it sound nice and helpful, doesn't it?
Right. And so essentially it uses your GPS, your speedometer, or it says here that even some of it is traffic sign recognition to detect how fast you're going and how fast you should be going. And if you're going too fast, then it will assist you in slowing down, right? And just first things first is like, let me speed, right? Second is, I remember, whenever you're taking a driver's test or anything, the entire idea of the test is that you are in complete control of your vehicle at all times, right? And so as soon as you put something in there that is inputting something to the system that I'm not, I've just lost control, And so I think that's the biggest no for me. But what about you guys?
If it's detecting road signs, I mean, how many road signs are out there that say, school zone, between these hours, or when flashing? If you go for 45 and all of a sudden your car dynamites the brakes to the speed of 20, everybody behind you is going to get seriously upset.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be making friends.
What about the tree branches that grow in front of the sign?
Yep.
They cover up the cover up the 4 in front of the 45, so now you're doing 5 miles an hour.
Or cover
Oh
up the
man.
stop sign that you don't even see the stop sign?
My issues with that is that sometimes you need to speed because it's the safer thing to do. Like that there might be something that is coming up behind you, and you need to get ahead of somebody before that thing hits you. So pedal down on the gas, and you go in front of the person that's next to you, and whatever is behind you just goes barreling down. Um, if you are restricted in how you can speed up or control your vehicle, like Jackson said, it, in my opinion, makes it a less safe machine, even if its intent is to make it a safer machine by making sure everybody is following the speed limit. There are times that, yeah, there are times when it's safer not to follow the speed limit.
Well, and we've got self-driving cars. Waymo would be a good example, where your car is supposed to do it right, but I just saw a news report recently where Waymo does not respect the crossing guard at school zones. So they'll be holding the stop sign up and stopping traffic, and Waymo just plows right on through because it's not a legal, legit stop sign. So I don't think we could program any intelligence into the cars to help us yet, because I mean the AI is still pretty stupid.
I think there's too many environmental I would classify Artie's example as an environmental factor. And there's other environmental factors. What if the weather's turning sour? What if the road is wet? What if the tires on the car are not as good as they could be or should be for the conditions of the road? You
Unfortunately,
know,
all those lead to don't speed. So
it leads to don't speed, but what if it slams on the, like what I'm saying is, like, what if it slams on the brakes?
mhm.
What if it, you know, doesn't see something that's coming up? What if the software malfunctions? What if the hardware, actually be more likely the hardware? What if the hardware malfunctions?
Well,
I
and
just
yeah,
I don't know.
Tesla's
I
actually
don't
faced
think
some of that.
there's Yeah, I think having a human behind the car who knows what they're doing is far safer than any machine at this point. Now, granted, a machine can take in thousands of points of input and different variables and process it and then make a decision based on, some calculation or another. But I don't see that we have the ability to get in all of that data and input that is needed.
Now,
In Tesla actually had a problem with their cars stopping for no good reason, and for a long time they denied it, but people actually got it on video. There's one on San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge. It just stopped in the middle of the bridge and had an 8-car pileup because it thought it saw something.
It was enjoying the view. I've never been, but I imagine right in the middle of the bridge must be pretty cool.
so there's another factor to this that also uh, tickles the back of my brain, and that is that they would use the information about the driving habits gathered by these devices to increase or deny car insurance. Because
Oh,
we've been
Mhm.
seeing that kind of thing with the OnStar. I think it was OnStar that was reporting the information gathered by the vehicles.
One of many.
And, it's another thing that is gathering information that should not be gathering information about you and sharing it with people that you don't want to share the information with.
There's some investors out there that have said data is the new oil. And I totally believe that. Problem is, we know what to do with oil, right?
Mhm.
Make plastic products, burn it in the car for gas, and a couple other things. It's
Burn it.
useful.
Burn it all.
The data, we still don't know how far down that rabbit hole goes. The data on us, the driving habits, whether I accelerate too hard or hit the brakes too hard. You can extrapolate out a personality type over time based on just driving habits. Is that something we want done?
No.
No, I don't. I
Well,
say just like the oil, let's burn it. Burn it all. Burn all the data.
well, so I think all of us have been on some of the highways in Utah, and much to the point of I want to speed when I need to speed. Anybody that says otherwise needs to drive those Utah highways. You have to speed to survive. If you're going the speed limit, you'll get killed. Like
The speed
they'll run
limit
you off
on
that road.
I-15 is now 70 miles an hour up and down the Wasatch Front Corridor, which is
Mhm.
unreal to me. For the number of lanes and the amount of traffic, instead of lowering the speed limit, they decided everybody's driving faster anyway, let's just raise the speed limit. So now they're just going to drive even faster. And yeah, so I'm going 70 miles an hour and I am being passed, decently passed. And on top of that, I also know for a fact that the speedometer on my van, I'm whatever my van says I'm going, I know I'm going a couple miles an hour faster than what my van says. So if I've got the needle on 70, I know I'm doing probably closer to 73 or 74 if it's showing 70. And I'm still being passed. These people have to be going 80, 85 at least.
Oh,
That
everybody
much.
drives 20
Well,
miles over.
It's 20
it's your
miles
fault
over.
it's your fault for standing still on the road, Mike.
That's just it, though. Is that, and so okay, I will drive. I will go with the flow of traffic. It's going to be a lot faster than the speed limit is, though. So what's my computer going to say about that? I mean, the only way it's going to work is if everybody has a computer in their car that's going to limit them to the proper speed limit.
And I think we've got to hit that critical mass before we can start putting, and I'm going to say it very insensitive. If we're trying to make computers smarter than people, and we're going to rely on the judgment of computers over people, that guy get a lot smarter than us. And it's all of us. All of our cars have to be in that system. All of our cars we have to relinquish all of our decision rights to those computers. And I don't think society's going to get there, not anytime soon.
Mm-mm.
I'm thinking of, I think it was Minority Report where they had the vehicles that you just get into. It was a Tom Cruise sci-fi one. You get into the vehicle and you just say, I'm going here, and then all the cars are basically on one database where they're following the lanes that they need to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way that it's going to work like that is if everything is autonomous. Because if you've got one person that is controlling their vehicle, that is a variable that the system won't be able to keep up with.
Just ask Bruce Willis. Fifth Element.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, all those futuristic sci-fi, imagining how it will be. iRobot, Minority Report. There's a lot of those where I think Total Recall. I think he jumps into a robot driving vehicle or something like that.
Johnny
All
Cab.
of them. Yeah, it's just all of those have this idea that, oh yeah, computers are just going to take us places until they take us to where we don't want to go.
So
And then-
Jackson, I think you were right, and I'm looking. We got about a 5-minute warning here, guys. We missed half our agenda, but I think we've got some good fun conversation here. I think you're on the right track there, Jackson, with the idea of we should go back to old school. Have things written down instead of digital form, or
I mean, the other day,
secret
Mike
handshake.
and I were talking. I was trying to figure. I was like, oh, where should I put this password so I don't forget it? And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write it down. I was like, that's the safest thing to do. I'm not gonna put it in my computer anywhere. I mean, I'll put it on a sticky note, and it'll stay in my desk, and I'm the only one who's gonna even be around to see it. So I think we've done it in certain ways. We've already gone back, and I think we'll hit it again at some point.
May I interject with some dark comedy about the self-driving cars?
Oh, please.
A
So
shudder.
if we have self-driving cars and we get to the point, there is going to be eventually somebody that gets in their car and passes away while they're on their way to their destination. So you're gonna have, hey kids, grandma's here.
Oh no!
Oh,
Oh no!
Oh, let's hope we don't go dark humor ever again. That was
Oh my
that would be
goodness!
sad.
well, actually, to tell you the truth, Artie, I think that if we're to that point that the car can take grandma to the grandkids' house, that there's probably also some life support monitoring things going on that if it suddenly detects that a heart has stopped
Let's
or
hope.
something of that nature,
Going to
that
the
it would
hospital.
then start going, okay, now we're going to the hospital instead, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm still not a fan of that idea because
Yeah.
I don't
I
want to
Now
mean,
pay
it has
that bill.
now it has to break the speed limit.
do I have to pay ambulance fees for my car driving me to the hospital?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Well, worse than that. I mean, let's say, uh, these identities. If it's not you that's behind the wheel, or let's say it is you behind the wheel, can the doors lock, windows roll up, and drive you to the police station, turn you
Oh
into the
my
cops?
gosh!
I think that's where everybody's fears, or that's where it's gonna go.
Well, and
I will. Every
okay,
car ride will be silent from me.
we just had a database hack of 2.9 billion records, if it's to be believed from the person who did it. Do we trust these cars to be 100% hack proof?
Nope, I don't trust anything to be.
I think
So
there's evidence that they are not hack proof.
We we we
Not even
we
close.
already tout and toe the line that says that nothing is completely secure. I mean, when we're talking to people, we're setting up computers for them, we try to put as much security as we can, but we always have to say nothing is ever completely secure. And I think that's going to be the same with an automobile, is that nothing is ever completely secure.
And so if
Somebody
it's
will
not
find a way in.
secure, would we want that car to have control over where we're going and how fast we get there?
No.
I mean, could you imagine taking control of the entire city of Cheyenne and saying your speed limit is 15 miles an hour?
If I have to go back to driving something like a 56 Chevy or something that has no computers in it whatsoever, then that's what I will do.
What
Actually, I
if
would
it's
love to have a
using
56 Chevy.
what if it's using an outdated map and the bridge ahead is out
Well,
and you haven't been updated yet, so you got car after car just going off the edge because it still thinks the bridge is
oh,
there.
I know we're out of
Well, if you're
time.
going
But
dark humor, enough cars will make the bridge.
no, let me tell you about this. I don't know if I've talked about this before. Listen, I know we're out of time. So coming back from Utah, I had turned on Google Maps and navigation just because I wanted to kind of keep track of my progress coming back. I mean, I know where I am, but I just wanted to I like watching the clock to see the estimated time of arrival. I like seeing just like how far away I am from the next town, things like that. Just kind of something visual on my phone just to watch it go, right? Well, I get to I had just crossed the border. I had just passed Evanston, and there's a big bunch of construction that's going on right now before Green River. Okay, they're finally resurfacing the freeway, and it's very much needed. Holy cow. And because of this, they've had to close some of the exits, and so there's detours for certain exits. Like if you're planning on getting off at this exit, that exit's closed, you'll need to get off at this exit instead and take the detour to get to where you need to go. Well, I was going along, and then it came up that I needed to get something out of the trunk of my car. And so I pulled off on this exit in the kind of near where this construction was going to start. And as I go down the off ramp, I did notice that Google had said that there was a reroute that it wanted to do and everything to go around this construction. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay on the freeway because I'm not in a hurry. But I get down to the bottom of this off ramp. There is a big orange digital construction sign at the end of this off ramp, right? And the first thing that flashes up, it says, Google is wrong. This is not a detour to go to this. Like, stay on the freeway and go to this exit instead. I'm like, Google is wrong. So that whole reroute that Google was talking about was wrong because the exit that it wanted to reroute me to, that exit or that on-ramp was also closed. And so people would find themselves, stuck, got to go back and everything. So even right now, Google can't get it right. You know, computers aren't getting it right. Even though they punch in the information for where the construction is going to be, computers still don't get it right and try to route you through something that doesn't work. I don't see my car doing any better in a number of years. And I don't want to be the guy that dives off the bridge because the bridge was out or the construction was going on.
If I see 3 or 4 years of no accidents and no mistakes on the road, I'll start believing those self-driving cars and, you know, this AI helping control things would have a chance. Until then, I just don't see computers being smarter than a person. I mean, we're talking about artificial general intelligence, the AGI. ChatGPT is not even close to that. It would take an entire data center. Even today, all our data centers can't get to AGI. But we would need that to do the driving that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I just put a punctuation on things, and we're over time, so I think everybody's looking at me to wrap it up, right?
Go for it.
Let's wrap it up. Why not?
Let's wrap it up. Well, until the time that computers are smarter than us, we are going to be in charge of our own destiny. We're going to have passcodes written down on sticky notes or black books that we carry with us. Not for all of them, guys. That's not our general recommendation, but feeling like it's a safer time. Every day we hear about these data breaches. So for everybody out there, just find a way to keep yourself safe, keep yourself secure, and have those human connections that you can say, hey, remember that time? Maybe that's your passcode to make sure that you are who you are. Well, until next time, this has been episode 16. 16-bit, right? Not 16-bit color, 16-bit.
I can change it in post.
We could change it. We'll fix it in post. I like that motto. Our editor doesn't like that motto, but I like that motto. We'll fix it in post.
I am the editor.
Oh, I'll remember that for next time. We'll have a few things to fix in post.
No, dear.
So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Next time, we'll have a few glitches to fix in post. Don't forget to put comments below if you've got questions for us in the future. We will get to them. And until next time.
I want to hear what everyone else has to say about the cars. I'd like to hear that. So if you have an opinion, throw a comment down there.
Mm-hmm.
We are interested to hear what you want us to talk about. So we look forward to those comments. We look forward to answering those comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.